Chapter Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Text 1. Shonakuvacha Ashwathamana Pastreshtena Brahma Shishnoru Tejasa Utaraya Hata Garbha Eshena Jivita Puna.
The sage Sonaka said, the womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoilt by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Aswadama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord.
Text 2. Tasya janma mahabuddheha karmani cha mahatmanaha nidhanam cha yatha vaset sa pretya gatavan yatha.
How was the great Emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb? How did his death take place, and what did he achieve after his death?
Text 3. Tad idam shrotam ichhamo gatitum yadi manyase bruhina shraddha dananam yashya jnanam adatchukha.
We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter.
Text 4. Sutta uvacha api palaya dharma rajaha pitravad ranjayan prajaha nishpraha sarva kamebhya krishna padanu sevaya.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthir administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna.
Text 5. Sampada kratavo loka mahisi prataro mahi jambu dvipadipatyam cha yashascha tridivam gatam.
News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthir's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, his fame, etc.
Text 6. Kim te kamah surasparha mukunda manaso dvijaha adijaru mudam rajana shuditashyam yatetare.
O Brahmanas, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service.
Text 7. Matur garbhagato viraha satad brigu nandana dadarsam pusham kanchit duhyamanos asra tejasa.
O son of Brigu, Sonaka, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother, Uttara, and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra, thrown by Ashwadama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him.
Text 8. Angushta matram amalam spurat purata maulinam api vyadarshanam swamam tadit vasasam achyutam.
He, the Lord, was only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful, blackish, infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child.
Text 9. Srimaddirga Chaturbahu Tapta Kancham Kundalam Shatajaksham Gadapanim Atmana Sarvatodisham Paribrahmantam Ulkabam Brahmayantam Gadam Muhu.
The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of gold, molten gold, and eyes blood red with fury. As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star.
Text 10. Astrateja Swagadaya Niharam Iva Gopiti Vidamantam Sanikarshe Paryakshata Ka Iti Aso.
The Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was observed by the child, who thought about who he was.
Text 11. Viduyat ameyatma Bhagavan Dharma Gabvidviduhu Misato Dasamasaisya Tatraivan Dade Hari.
While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, the supersoul of everyone and the protector of the religious, righteous, who stretches in all directions and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once.
Text 12. Tata sarva gunodake shaunukule grahodaye jnane vamsa dhara pandor bhuya pandur ivaujasa.
Thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in Pavaris, took birth.
Text 13. Tasya pritamana raja viprer domyam kripadibhi jatakam karayam asa vachayitvaja mangalam.
King Yudhishthir, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas, headed by Dhaumya and Kripa, recited auspicious hymns.
Text 14. Hiranyam gam mahim graman hasti ashwan rapatir varam pradat swanam cha viprepya prajatirhe sa tirthavit.
Upon the birth of a son, the king, who knew how, where, and when charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmanas.
Text 15. Tam uchur brahmanas tushta rajanam prashrayanvitam esai hi asmin prajatanto purunama pauravasabha.
The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as the chief amongst the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent from the Purus.
Hare Krishna. Apologies for any mistakes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Emangi, Radha Mataji, and Shyam Govinda Prabhu. Thank you for your recitation. And apologies for being a bit late today. You can hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. Okay. So welcome everyone to today's chat session. Today we begin a new chapter. Chapter number 12, the birth of Emperor Parikshit. And we'll be covering verses 1 to 3 today. So let me see if I can share my screen. Just bear with me. That's not the one. Okay, so let's recite the Mangala Charanam prayers first. Please feel free to join in behind muted mics. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Sapta Kanchana Gourange Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadishatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dear devotees, chapter 12, the birth of Emperor Parikshit. So let me bring up the verses again. We'll be covering the first 3 verses. So verse number 1, Shonaka Uvacha Ashvatamno Pashritena Brahma Shri Snoro Tejasa Uttarayo Atogarbha Ishena Jivita Punaha. The sage Shonaka said, the womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashvatthama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord. Purport. By Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya inquired from Sutta Goswami about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. But in the course of the narration, other topics like the release of the Brahmastra by the son of Drona, his punishment by Arjuna, Queen Kunti's prayers, the Pandavas' visit to the palace where Bhishma was lying, his prayers, and thereafter the Lord's departure for Dwaraka were discussed. His arrival at Dwaraka and residing there with the 16,000 queens, etc., were narrated. The sages were absorbed in hearing such descriptions, but now they wanted to turn to the original topic, and thus the inquiry was made by Shaunaka Rishi. So the subject of the release of the Brahmastra weapon by Ashwatthama is renewed. So these questions, original questions about Maharaj Parikshit, if you recall, was originally raised way back in chapter number 4. Chapter number 4. And I'll just read those verses. And as Srila Prabhupada explains, they were discussed in chapter number 4, but so many other topics came about. So chapter number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 7 chapters, Prabhupada just describes in the purport, was describing other matters. So we recall in chapter number 4, text number 9 to 12, the sages inquired. They said, it is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So this inquiry in this chapter is nicely summarized in this verse. Krishna consciousness is all about, Krishna conscious life is about describing the activities and the pastimes of the Lord and his great devotees. So in that verse number 9, Maharaj Parikshit was described as a Mahabhagavat, a first-class devotee. And therefore the sages were very eager to learn about his birth and his activities. They were very eager to. So this is Vaishnav culture. Vaishnav culture is about always celebrating the activities and the birth of the great devotees of the Lord. Therefore, you see in our Vaishnav calendar, so many appearance days are there. And all of them we celebrate. Why? Because when we celebrate, we remember the activities of the great devotees. Mahajena Yena Gata Sapanta. Krishna consciousness is about following in the footsteps of the great devotees of the Lord. They've chalked out the path for us, and we simply have to observe their lives, appreciate their devotion, and take lessons from them. And our path in Krishna consciousness will be successful. So these 4 verses in chapter 4, the sages were inquiring very, very eagerly about Maharaj Parikshit's birth. Because everything about the life of a devotee is connected with Krishna. Everything is connected with Krishna. So when we read and we discuss the life of the devotees, we are automatically remembering Krishna. So this is a beautiful chapter, and Shaunaka Rishi is bringing us back to this inquiry about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. So we'll move to text number 2. Tasya janma mahabhude karmani cha mahatmanaha nidanam cha yatai vasit sa pritya gatavan yata. How was the great Emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb? How did his death take place? And what did he achieve after his death? So 3 questions are being posed here. The first is, how did Maharaj Parikshit, how did he take birth in the womb of Uttara? They are interested even before he was born. What is his lineage? Secondly, they wanted to know, how did he leave his body? How did his death take place? And lastly, they wanted to know, what did he achieve after his death? So it is said, death is life's final exam. Many people fail the exam, but there are a few great souls that pass this exam gloriously. Gloriously. And that will be our final exam. That will be our final test. So when we examine the life of great devotees, one of the greatest lessons is how to pass away. Even Srila Prabhupada, his final pastimes were one of the greatest lessons he left behind for the devotees. How he drew everyone in, the love he showed, how he transcended the body. So it's very interesting that they are, in terms of Maharaj Parikshit's life, they are focusing on, yes, his birth, but they ask two questions in connection with his passing away. So purport. The king of Hastinapur, now Delhi, used to be the emperor of the world, at least till the time of the son of Emperor Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother, so he could certainly be saved from an untimely death due to the ill will of the son of a Brahmana. So he was saved at birth by Krishna. So certainly Prabhupada says he will be saved at death by Krishna. Because the age of Kali began to act just after the assumption of power by Maharaj Parikshit, the first sign of misgivings was exhibited in the cursing of such a greatly intelligent and devoted king as Maharaj Parikshit. The king is the protector of the helpless citizens, and their welfare, peace, and prosperity depend on him. Unfortunately, by the instigation of the fallen age of Kali, an unfortunate Brahmana's son was employed to condemn the innocent Maharaj Parikshit, and so the king had to prepare himself for death within 7 days. Maharaj Parikshit is especially famous as one who is protected by Vishnu. And when he was unduly cursed by a Brahmana's son, he could have invoked the mercy of the Lord to save him, but he did not want to because he was a pure devotee. A pure devotee never asks the Lord for any undue favor. Maharaj Parikshit knew that the curse of the Brahman's son upon him was unjustified, as everyone else knew. But he did not want to counteract it because he knew also that the age of Kali had begun, and that the first symptom of the age, namely degradation of the highly talented Brahmana community, had also begun. He did not want to interfere with the current of the time, but he prepared himself to meet death very cheerfully and very properly. Being fortunate, he got at least 7 days to prepare himself to meet death, and so he properly utilized the time in the association of Shukadev Goswami, the great saint and devotee of the Lord. So Maharaj Parikshit is explained there. He is a pure devotee. And as a pure devotee, he could have approached Krishna and asked Krishna to counteract the curse. But he didn't do that. And Prabhupada says, why? Because firstly, the pure devotees, they are not interested in taking any service from Krishna. They do not want, as Prabhupada says here, never ask the Lord for any undue favor. This is the nature of a devotee. They actually, one may say, why don't they ask the Lord for any undue favor? Is there more to it? And the answer is yes. Because they see everything that takes place in their life as the will of Krishna. And we know that the cursing of Maharaj Parikshit was definitely the will of Krishna, as Prabhupada says in the purport, that this cursing of Maharaj Parikshit was in Krishna's plan. The plan was for Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken. So, as Krishna Prabhupada says, we have our plan. Krishna has his plan. And we must always make Krishna's plan first. So we may have thinking, some people may think the king is the protector of the citizens. He takes care of their welfare. So we should ask Krishna to protect. Maharaj Parikshit's mood was no. Krishna's plan predominates. And the devotee always has this confidence that no matter what happens in their life, everything happens due to the arrangement of Krishna. Krishna has my best. If one has this deep faith that Krishna always has my best interest at heart, then anything that happens, even if it is apparently so-called negative, the predominant consciousness of the devotee, Krishna knows what's best for me. So I may not be able to see the complete picture, but Krishna has my best interest, and this will be for my good. It will be for my good. And what's interesting here, Srila Prabhupada writes about Maharaj Parikshit. He prepared to meet his death very cheerfully and very properly. Srila Prabhupada could have just written, he prepared to meet his death very properly, in the right consciousness. But Prabhupada has added here, cheerfully. Cheerfully. Everyone else was seeing this incident as one to lament. But yes, Maharaj Parikshit is cheerfully accepting this current situation of his. So we can learn from this example of Maharaj Parikshit that if we have this confidence that Krishna has my best interest in every situation, we will accept that situation cheerfully. And the opposite of cheerfully is morosely. Devotee is never morose. Never morose. So we'll move on to text number 3. Tadidam shrotum ichamo garitum yadi manyase bruhina shradadannana nam yasya jnanam adachukaha. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Shukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Look at the eagerness of the sages. They want to hear about Maharaj Parikshit. And this is the difference between an advanced devotee and a neophyte devotee. A neophyte devotee, a third-class devotee, is called Kanishta Adhikari. And the consciousness of the Kanishta Adhikari is that they only see the Lord, they only want to serve the Lord, they only want to hear about the Lord, and they do not have much interest in serving the devotees, about hearing about the devotees. But the advanced devotees, the Uttama Adhikaris, they see and they have this broader understanding of the meaning of Krishna. As we said previously, Prabhupada very clearly in the Nectar of Devotion says, when we speak about Krishna, we do not only mean the threefold bending form of Shyamasundar. When we say Krishna, included within Krishna is his name, his abode, his devotees, his paraphernalia. Everything that is connected with Krishna is Krishna. So the devotees, the advanced devotees, they don't make discrimination. Very eager to hear about the devotees. And we should be in that spirit also, in that mood. I try to practice this. Whenever I meet the devotees, one of the first questions I ask them is, tell me how you came to Krishna consciousness. Tell me how you came to Krishna consciousness. And it is so exciting. It is so exciting. It is so inspiring. It is so purifying to hear about how devotees connect with Krishna. And we should be very willing to hear about the devotees. Be personal. We are a personal movement. Personal movement means we are eager to know about the devotees, to know about their activities, to know about their birth, and so on. So the purport. Shukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit during the remaining 7 days of his life. And Maharaj Parikshit heard him properly, just like an ardent student. The effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. What was the effect? The hearer was enthused and purified, and the chanter was enthused and purified. This is the nature of Srimad Bhagavatam. Both the hearer and the chanter are equally, Prabhupada says here, equally. It's not that those who are hearing, they are the ones becoming purified. No. As I am speaking here, I am becoming purified. So much, equally. Equally. And Prabhupada says, both of them were benefited. Out of the 9 different transcendental means of devotional service to the Lord described in the Bhagavatam, either all of them, or some of them, or even one of them are equally beneficial if properly discharged. The processes Prabhupada is referring here to is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Archanam, and so on. Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami were serious performers of the first 2 important items, namely the process of chanting and the process of hearing. And therefore, both of them were successful in the laudable attempt. So here we can see that Maharaj Parikshit, he was a hearer, but Prabhupada says he was also a serious performer of chanting. He was also a devotee who chanted. And Shukadeva Goswami, his predominant role is chanting, but he also heard. He heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Srila Vyasadeva. Transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting and not otherwise. So Prabhupada is making a very profound statement here. Transcendental realization is attained by serious hearing and chanting and not otherwise. So if we look at any great devotee of the Lord, we'll see that they are serious hearers and serious chanters. Then Prabhupada goes on to explain something very interesting. And this is something Prabhupada quoted on a few occasions. He said, there is a type of spiritual master and disciple much advertised in this age of Kali. And Prabhupada, I won't mention, but many of you all know exactly who Srila Prabhupada is referring to here. And he's saying there is a type of spiritual master and disciple much advertised in this age of Kali. And yesterday, when I was at the exhibition distributing books in Harrow, I met such a follower of these personalities described here. And he was claiming that to eat meat, there's no difficulty. It is said that the master injects spiritual force into the disciple by an electric current generated by the master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for his exhausting his store of so-called spiritual assets. Such bogus advertisement is going on in this age, and the poor common man is becoming the victim of such advertisement. So there is a story of this famous guru and his disciple. So once the disciple went to the guru and asked the guru to please bless him with transcendental knowledge. So the guru placed his hand on the head of this disciple, and it suddenly felt like there was a shock wave going. It was like for a while, there was like the shock waves going from the master to the disciple. And after a while, the master fainted. And the disciple asked him, Master, why did you faint? And he said, now I have transmitted all the knowledge I have to you, and now I've become bereft of knowledge. And Prabhupada says, this is completely bogus. This is such completely bogus, Prabhupada says, because this is not how spiritual knowledge works, the transmission of spiritual knowledge. This is not how a spiritual master and disciple work. When the genuine spiritual master blesses the disciple with knowledge, he does not become bereft of any knowledge. And as Prabhupada says, by the example of Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami was speaking, he's bestowing, he's benedicting Parikshit Maharaj with knowledge. And what's happening to Shukadev Goswami? He's becoming more and more enthused, more and more enlivened. Not like this bogus incident here, Prabhupada is describing. So he's saying, we do not find such folk tales in the dealings of Shukadev Goswami and his great disciple Maharaj Parikshit. The sage recited Srimad Bhagavatam in devotion, and the great king heard him properly. The king did not feel any shock of electrical current from the master, nor did he become unconscious while receiving knowledge from the master. One should not, therefore, become a victim of these unauthorized advertisements made by some bogus representative of Vedic knowledge. The sages of Naimisharanya were very respectful in hearing about Maharaj Parikshit because of his receiving knowledge from Shukadev Goswami by means of ardent hearing. Ardent hearing from the bona fide spiritual master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge. And there is no need for medical performances or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. Such beautiful statements by Srila Prabhupada. If one wants to receive transcendental knowledge, there is no need for miracles to be performed. There's no need for some magical medical performances. Only two things have to be present, or actually only one thing, is the ardent hearing. If one listens with full attention, then one is enlightened. All the effects of spiritual life is there. Therefore, Prabhupada said, the process of Krishna consciousness in one sense is so simple that one may miss it. Simply, Prabhupada says, simply by giving oral reception to the message of Krishna, one can become enlightened. And people, they feel that this is too simple. Simply by hearing, one can become completely enlightened. No, there must be something more than this. There has to be something more than this. But no, all the disciple has to do, all we have to do is allow ourselves to hear, and to hear very, very attentively. And then a spiritual perfection will be there. It will definitely be there. There's no need for anything else. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, the reason I have created this Krishna consciousness movement, the reason I have opened up temples, is simply to give people the opportunity to hear. Therefore, when people come to the Hare Krishna movement, the activity besides eating and being served nice prasadam, the other great activity, or the greatest activity, is the hearing. Constantly, if you go to the morning program in the temple, we are hearing the kirtan, we are hearing other devotees chant, we're hearing the kirtan again, and then we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the whole process of Krishna consciousness. It's the foundation of the process of Krishna consciousness, hearing, and we get insight into that in this beautiful first 3 verses of the Bhagavatam describing Maharaj Parikshit. And Prabhupada is so nicely explaining to us not to be fooled. Okay, it's almost 8:30. I always try to stop at 8:30 and leave sufficient time for questions or reflections. So let's hear, dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, or reflections.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Namrata Mataji.
My Danot Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I have to say this, if I may. Prabhuji, you speak with so much passion and love that it just is the comment that you said, that the devotee is never remorse. It's so true, Prabhuji, because whenever you're talking, it just feels like I can listen to you forever, Prabhuji. You have so much compassion and love for Krishna. And yes, it's beautiful, Prabhuji. So thank you for that. Prabhuji, I got 4 things out of this. And the reason for sharing this is because it's one of the things that you said was, 2 things. What you said was devotees never ask for undue favor. And you said Krishna has my best interest in every situation. Now, the reason this struck me, Prabhuji, is because last week was like a mad week for me. My husband wasn't around for a week for work reasons. I've got a new job, my kids' activities and everything. So I felt like I wasn't doing my service for Krishna like I want to do. And I kept thinking, because over the weekend I was busy with my in-laws and lots of things happened, nice, beautiful things happened. And I felt like najar lagi gayi se. I don't know if you understand that, Prabhuji, but najar means, I don't know what's the right word, but like an evil eye sort of thing. So I have a wonderful Mataji that I always speak to almost every other day. I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name, but it's Hema Mataji. And one of the things that she told me that struck me is, when you understand that Krishna has my best interest in every situation, there is nothing like najar. And Prabhuji, you said it again today. So it feels like that thing is coming to me now, that forget about najar. If Krishna has my best interest, then maybe Krishna wanted me to go through this to understand and to get the balance right, work-life balance right. So I think, Prabhuji, today it's all, everybody is just telling me the same thing again and again. So I want to be thankful and be grateful that you just said the same thing today. So that was my reflection, Prabhuji. So thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Namrata Mataji, and thank you for your kind words also. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you for the
Krishna,
nice
Mataji.
class. Thank you for that. As usual, as the Mataji just said, you talk with like a compassion, and the words come from deep down from the heart. I have a little realization here. Prabhupada said, like the bogus guru, if knowledge has to be transmitted, like we know Sutta Goswami, his knowledge was transmitted from his father, Harsana Rishi, when Harsana Rishi did not pay his obeisances to Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram just with the blade of grass, killed him. So that was with the Brahmanas' prayers, the Brahmanas' mantras, they could do it. But in this age of Kali, there is no such Brahmana, there is no such thing that can be done. Because at that time, Sutta Goswami was very young. And when Harsana Rishi was not there, his knowledge was transmitted, was transformed into Sutta Goswami. But not nowadays. Isn't it, Prabhuji?
True, very true. Those were great personalities. Yeah, and they imbibe knowledge in a profound way. Thank you, Indulekha Mataji, for sharing that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan
Krishna.
Chandra.
Krishna Vani Mataji.
Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances. All
Yes,
glories to
Krishna.
Shri Guru Chandra
Yeah.
and Shri Prabhupada. Prabhu, yeah, as you know, today's class, that's a reflection that whatever, we go through everything in the life, but whatever for the devotees, at the end, whatever is, doing, Krishna always does the good, So in the beginning, sometimes you feel, but then when you see the end, that yes, Krishna always looks after his devotees, and he has a best, the best results at the end, So whatever he does is for good. So that's what we have to keep in mind. Maybe sometimes you feel that why this, but actually we are not taught that the devotees will never blame Krishna or anybody, because we know that according to our past karmas, yes, we go through, but Krishna even makes it less, and at the end the result is always good.
Yeah, very much so. There's no place for moroseness in a devotee's life. If we are feeling morose about something, then we need to reflect about our consciousness. That there's something not right in our consciousness because we are seeing things separately from Krishna. And that's causing us to be morose. If we see everything connected with Krishna, everything as a will of Krishna, and we have this complete conviction that Krishna has my best interest at heart, and Krishna is loving, is compassionate, no, even in the worst situation, there is no opportunity to be morose. Absolutely not.
Very true. And another thing we learned that, like before, our consciousness that everything for Krishna or hearing about Krishna, it's good. But then from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we come to know that if anything is connected to Krishna is even, the best, good. So because Krishna, when we hear about Krishna's devotees, Krishna, become more pleased and he gets a pleasure by listening his devotees glories. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I learned, that like Bhagavad Gita chapter first, in the beginning I was it's the names of the kings and all these things, but when I heard that whoever is connected to Krishna is good, so then my mentality changed. Hare Krishna.
There's a story, there's two stories actually. Once Guru Das was asking Srila Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, we read in Nectar of Devotion that no one should be worshipped in front of the deity of Krishna. But yet we see Guru Puja time, the curtains are open and the spiritual master is being glorified in front of Krishna. So how do we explain that? And Prabhupada said, we can explain it Krishna is more pleased when his devotee is glorified than when he is glorified. So when the spiritual master is being glorified, it's no offense, it's giving pleasure to Krishna.
Mhm.
And once one devotee, Guru Das, was also glorifying one other devotee. They were in the room, Srila Prabhupada's deities, Radha Govinda were there. And Guru Das, at one point, he started glorifying, this devotee is doing so nice. He's preaching so nice. And then he said, oh, Prabhupada, sorry. In Nectar of Devotion, you wrote that we should not glorify the devotee in front of the deity. I'm sorry I created an offense. Prabhupada said, no offense. Krishna is more pleased when his devotee is glorified than when he is glorified. There is no offense. So Maharaj Parikshit is being glorified in the Bhagavatam. And Krishna is very pleased. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jagadish
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Very much for a wonderful class, as always. If I may just add a little bit more flavor to your wonderful comments, I think ardent hearing on its own isn't sufficient, Prabhuji. It needs to have sincerity. Without sincerity, ardent hearing could just be scholarly. And you can become a proud Brahmana with ardent hearing on its own. So without sincerity, so anya bilashitam sunyam, as it says in CC, and Rupa Goswami elaborates further, Nectar Devotion, that we need to have that hunger and sincerity coupled with the qualities of hearing. Otherwise, it could end up with an egoistic route towards academia, as it were.
Yes, very true. Eagerness and the greed to hear. Sometimes when we hear, we are analyzing the speaker, what they are saying. We are thinking maybe I could have said something better. Maybe I could have explained this story. And, we can become so preoccupied again, due to the false ego of how we could have been saying things. We miss the message completely. So humility, greed, a deep hunger to hear. And actually, the great devotees of the Lord, they don't discriminate. Oh, today Kartik Chandra Prabhu is giving class, or Govinda Prabhu is giving class, I will go. Oh, I heard that so-and-so Bhakta is giving class, I'll miss it, I'll skip it. The great devotees of the Lord, they make no discrimination. They simply go to hear the Bhagavatam, and they go and hear it with a sincere heart. So some very nice points, Prabhu. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This
Hare
is
Krishna.
Sundari.
Hare Krishna. Nice.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji, is so nice, wonderful class, and the discussion is going on. It's really helped me today. I needed these points today, and the point you said, when you're connected with Krishna, there is no question of moroseness. I was morose today for some reason. It's like association with the non-devotees were happening today, and I was listening a lot of criticism about the devotees and our movement, and it was like there was a situations happening. So it was wonderful discussion today, and please guide me something. How do I get my mind back to where I was?
You actually said it, Sundari Mataji. You actually said it.
Yeah.
You be very selective about what you hear. If you hear criticism and things that are not glorifying the devotee, then Just like Krishna is pleased when the devotee is glorified, Krishna is displeased when the devotees are criticized. And when we avail ourselves, we open our ears to criticism and negative talks about devotees. In that space, Krishna is not pleased. And if we are in any situation where Krishna is not pleased, then we will become morose. We become disconnected from Krishna. Yeah. So we should be very careful about our association, what we hear. We should be very selective about what we hear.
So we should close our ears.
Yes.
So, the situation comes when like there's no need to preach these people. There's no point. Sometimes you just shut your mouth. This was the situation today with me. I just had to just be quiet because there was no point of like telling anyone anything. So this helped me today's class, that do not hear any criticism. Just switch off. I just walked away. I thought just better to just walk away and just concentrate. So I came and started listening to Chad now. so good thing is like it made me listen to the Chad, which I was missing. So see, now I'm seeing positive in whatever happened. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sundari.
And wonderful class. Like your class is coming deep down from heart and with the nice emotions, expressions. So that helped me a lot. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your association and all the devotees, wonderful devotees in this Chad class.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
All the devotees here, they are ardent hearers. I see the names on the group, and day in and day out. They come day in, day out. So what taste all these devotees have.
Yes.
Great personality.
Definitely, Prabhuji.
Wonderful.
So like, this was a way for me. Krishna dragged me. Look, go to your Chad class. Leave your family. Go and listen to your real family, which is the devotees' family. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare everyone. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. No further questions, comments, and reflections. We'll conclude today's session. Thank you very much, dear devotees, glorious devotees, sincere devotees, ardent hearers, for your association today. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha
Pititanaya pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the very wonderful
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Amazing session. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.